In this video, we are going to learn to connect our Java application with database, especially using MySQL database. Before we begin, we must ensure that our database server, or in this case MySQL server, has already started and running. So you can see in here, I use XMPP, in which one of the module it has a MySQL database, and then I just start the process over here, and then when the module shows green light, it means that the database is already running. And then before we can start to connect our Java application with database, first of all, we need to download the connector, the MySQL connector for Java especially. So we can go to the MySQL community downloads, and then on the MySQL community downloads webpage, choose the connector /j over here, because this is what we want to download for the MySQL connector. And then after that, the page will show the selection of operating systems, so you can choose based on the operating system that you use to install the MySQL connector. In case if you don't want to download the MySQL connector J into your operating system, you can just choose the platform independent over here, and then choose to download the zip archive. Once you've downloaded the file, you can go to your download folder. In this case, I put the downloaded file inside the NetBeans project, and then here is the downloaded file for the MySQL connector J version 8.33, and then you can just extract the file, and then you will see over here the extracted files. Here we get the jar file of MySQL connector J. So later on we will add this MySQL connector J into our project libraries. Next, open up our NetBeans, and then we want to test first whether the connector that we have downloaded can connect our IDE, can connect our Java application later on with the MySQL database. So before we start to connect our Java application with database, first we must make sure that we have the database that we want to connect in our application. So this time, open our MySQL Workbench, and then see what is the database that we want to connect with our Java application. In this case, I will connect the EzParking database here with the Java applications called EzParking over here. And then in this EzParking, actually I have two tables, vehicle and users. So first, for the example, I will use table vehicle to show you how to connect Java application with the MySQL database. So make sure that your vehicle tables have the following structure. It has 7 attributes such as ID with the data type of integer. Its auto increment is also the primary key for this table, and also number plate, varchar, and then brand, varchar, vehicle class, color, created at, and also modified at. Sorry, this created at is not the primary key. So the primary key is only the ID. Once you finish creating this table structure, ID, number plate, brand, vehicle class, color, created at, and modified at, and then give the default expression for these two columns, created at, modified at, to become current timestamp. So we are set with this table vehicle. So apply all the changes, apply it, okay, finish, and then you can do some simple query to see the structure of the table vehicle over here. So for example, here I have several sample data inside my vehicle table. As you can see, actually there are 4 data over here. Next, we are going to connect this EzParking database and also vehicle table to our Java application. So open up our NetBeans, and then on the sidebar over here, so choose the service sidebar, and then you can see there are several options such as database, web services, server, and so on. We will choose databases, and then open up the driver. You will see the MySQL connector J driver options over here, and then right click on this one, and then choose customize. At the beginning, you should see that there are no driver files attached in this MySQL connector J. So what we want to do here, we want to click add, and then redirect it to our NetBeans project, where we store the extracted MySQL connector J that we have just downloaded earlier. For example, in this one, after I extract the MySQL connector J into this folder MySQL connector J, and then add up this MySQL connector J version 8, choose open, and once it's finished, it will start to show where is the locations of our driver files here, and then it will also automatically the driver class this one com MySQL CJ JDBC driver. So this will be the driver that we will use to connect our Java application with MySQL database. Right, just press OK. And then next we want to test the connection, the database connection in this NetBeans. Okay, so in here, right click on the MySQL again and then choose connect using, and then fill in the information for our connection. So in this case, the host name is the database host name. So in this example, in my PC, I set it as a local host, but obviously you can also change it to your own IP address. And then give the port. We can see it from here, from this information in XMPP. MySQL set database is run on port 3306, and then the database here, fill this with the name of the database that we want to connect. In this case, it's EzParking. So I fill in EzParking, and then fill in the information about your database username and also password, and then try to test the connection first. If it succeeds, there will be some information whether the connection is successfully created or not. Okay, once you get this information, if the connection succeeds, then we can click finish. Then you will see on this service tab, you can see the new database connections for the database EzParking has been created. We can expand it, and then we can see the tables. For example, these vehicles, we can view the data. It will show up all the data inside this vehicle table. And then we can also run several queries over here on the SQL editor. It's similar with the SQL editor that we have in our MySQL Workbench. So you can choose whichever one that you are more confident with. You can use the one from NetBeans, or you can use the one from MySQL Workbench. Okay, let's get back here to our NetBeans project. Right, so in this case, create a new project, a new Java application project. So Java with N, choose Java applications, and then choose the location for your project folders, and then give the project names. So in this case, I will not create a new Java project because I have already created previously. I will just show you step by step how to do it one by one. Okay, so after you give the project names, let's say you give the name of EzPark, and then don't forget to check this one, use dedicated folder for storing libraries. So if you check this folder, NetBeans will help you automatically to create a library folder to store all the required library for your project, this one. If you don't check this one, it does not have any problem, but you need to create your library folder on your own later on. So to make it more convenient for us, we can just check on this one and then choose the name for this library folder. Okay, by default, the library folder will be named as a lib folder. And then you can opt to create a main class or not. And then once you finish, just click finish. Since I already have this project set up previously, I don't want to click on finish. I just click cancel, and then I'll just show you the structure of my previous project here. Alright, so in your previous project, you will see that there will be no source package at all. So you can start by creating a new Java package by right clicking on the source package, to click new, and then choose Java package. And then in here, we want to create two packages. The first one is the packages for the application itself, right? It will contains the main class, the user interface, the form, the Java form, right? And then the other package, it will store all the controller, all the models for that related with the database connection. So we will separate our code into two different packages. The first one is for the Java application itself, and then the second one is for the model, for the database connection, for the model of our tables in database, the model for all the entity in our system. Alright, so just create a new package. Once you finish creating the name, giving the name for your Java package, just click on finish. Okay, I won't create a new one because I already have it. Once you finish creating the two models, one thing that we want to make sure is that because these projects later on, it will have a connection with database. So we must add the MySQL connector library that we have just downloaded earlier into this project. So you can expand the libraries tab over here. Okay, the libraries folder, the libraries group, and then you can right click on this library and then choose add jar or folder. Again, the process is similar as when you want to add a new uh, connector in these services for databases. Right, it's the same. So right click on the libraries folder over here and then choose add jar or folder and then redirect it to where you store the MySQL connector J driver. So in this case, MySQL connector J.8 version 8, and then in here, after you choose it, don't be in a rush to click open. Okay, so in here you must choose how you want to how you want to use this connector library in your project. So there are several options such as the relative path, perform variable, copy to library sorter, and absolute path. So in this case, what we want to do here, we want to copy this MySQL connector J into our library folder, the lib folder that we have just created earlier when we created this new project. So choose this one, copy to libraries folder, and then once you make sure that you want to copy this MySQL connector jar files into your library folder, click on open, and then it will automatically be added inside this libraries item. And then if you notice that inside your library folder here, you can open up in your NetBeans project EzParking samples on the lib inside the lib folder. You can see that the connector earlier, the MySQL connector J, will be copied to this lib folder. Okay, so we'll just leave it over here and then we'll continue again. So after you copy the MySQL connector J into your project libraries folder, so let's fill in first by creating our model. So in this case, in the model package, we will create two Java classes. Okay, right click on the model, create a new, choose Java class, new Java class. And then in here, we want to first, when we create the new Java class, give it the class name and then make sure that we place it inside the model package. And then for examples, in this case, the first class that I want to create here is the DB model. So this DB model class is it will be used to handle all the database connection from our application to the database, right? So you need to create this DB model Java class file, and again I will not create it in my project since I already have it. Okay, so for this DB model class, what we want to do here, we want to add the abstract keyword for our class, so that to make it be an abstract class for this DB model. Okay, so add the keyword abstract in front of the class keyword. Okay, public abstract DB model, and then in here we want to create three attributes for this DB model class. The first attribute, the first data member, is the protected static connection. So this connection is actually an object from the library of java.sql.connection. So make sure that you use the library from java.sql connection. So if you cannot, if there is no suggestions that will lead to java.sql connection, you must type it on your own. So java.sql.connection. And then the second data member is the statement. So it comes from the Java SQL statement. And then next is the java.sql.resultSet object. Okay, so after you create these three data members, what we want to do next, we want to create the default constructor over here. So in this default constructor, we want to set the initial value for both the statement and then the result set data members as null. And then for the connection itself, we want to set it based on the return value that we get from this get connection method. Okay, so let's dive into detail into this get connection method. In this get connection method, it will return out a type of connection object. So first of all, we want to check whether we already have the the abstract DB model class. It already has the connection open previously or not. Okay, so if we don't have any connection at all in this DB model connection object, okay, so we want to create a new MySQL connection. So we want to write here, we want to load, right? So we will write class dot for name, and then we will write this is the class of MySQL connector J that earlier we have seen in this MySQL connector. When we customize this one, we can see the driver class com MySQL CJ JDBC driver. You can see it's the same. Okay, so type it out. Class for name com.mysql.cj.gdbc.driver new instance. And then next we want to create a new connection using the driver manager class from the library java.sql. So this one, java.sql driver manager. So, and we want to put the connection string into this connection. So we call upon the driver manager dot get connection, and then for this connection string, we can take a look on the services, on the service that we have just created earlier, the connection. Okay, we can just right click on this connection, right click on it, go to properties, and then you can see the display name and database URL. Okay, choose the database URL and then copy the string, this one. So the string format will be JDBC colon MySQL colon slash slash localhost. This is the host name for our database, colon the database port, the port number here, slash the name of the database that we want to have, that we want to connect with. All right. So once we copy this string from this connection, from this successful connection, we can go back here. So we copy it inside here, inside the get connection method. So we type in the connection string JDBC colon MySQL colon localhost 3306 EzParking, and then don't forget to fill in the username information for our database, for our MySQL database, and also the password for database connection. And then once you type in this class for name MySQL CJ driver and new instance and also the driver manager, you will automatically receive some error from the NetBeans. So don't forget to add the try catch block over here for both of this code. Okay, so the first try catch block will be the class not found exception, in which it comes from this from the loading of this library com MySQL cj.jdbc.driver, and then the second one is the instantiation exceptions coming from this new instance calling. And then the next one is illegal access exceptions, is similar also from the new instance trying to access this driver file. And then next we will have the SQL exception here. This SQL exception comes from the SQL connections, whether we can successfully create connections with our MySQL database or not. Then after we set up the connection using the connection string and also put in our database username and password over here, don't forget to return the value over here. And then at the end, finally, we also need to add another comment, another code to return the connections if actually the DB model has already created the connection with our MySQL database EzParking over here. Okay, so in case if there is no prior connection that had been made previously, then create a new connection using the driver manager. Otherwise, just return the existing connection back to this get connection method. Okay, other than this get connection method in this DB model class, we also need to create for abstract method, it's corresponding to the CRUT operation of MySQL database, the create, read, update, and delete operation. The first one will be the public abstract void insert data. It corresponds to the insert or creating a new data. And then abstract void update data, delete, and also for select, we will need to return the data in form of array list of objects. Okay, so all of them in my example here, I will throw the SQL exception and also exception, so that I will not put the try catch inside each of the implementation of this abstract method, but in the caller, or in this case in the main code in the Java application itself. Okay, next let's see our the second class of the Java class that we have here for the model package called the model. So this one, the vehicle. So this vehicle is to represent the model of our vehicle table in this database, the structure of this vehicle. So in this case, for this vehicle class, we will make it to be able to extend we will make it as an extensions or as an inheritance for this DB model class that we have previously created over here. Right, so extends DB model, so that we will inherit the database connection and also all the abstract method that we will implement in this vehicle class. And then we will create 4 attributes for data members for this vehicle class that corresponds to each of the attributes or the columns in the vehicle class, except for the created add and modified add columns over here. So we'll create the 5 attributes over here: ID, number plate, brand, vehicle class, and also color, along with the corresponding the appropriate data type over here, similar with the data used in our vehicle table in the MySQL. And then create the constructor for this class. Okay, in my examples, I create 3 constructors. The first one is the default constructor. The second one is the constructor with only 4 parameters without the ID. And then the last one is the constructor with all the parameters, with all 5 parameters, including ID, number plate, brand, vehicle class, and also color. And then don't forget to create the properties for this vehicle class for all the data members that it has: ID, getter setter for number plate, getter setter for brand, getter setter for vehicle class, and also getter setter for the color. Next, we want to implement the abstract method from our parent class DB model in here. So we want to implement the first one is the insert data method. Okay, take note here that we will implement the public void insert data. You can implement it by using the quick code, by pressing the code helper. Okay, and then choose the previously, if you have not implemented any of the abstract method, you will have some options over here saying that implement method. Okay, let me just show you an example. Let's say here I have not implemented all the method. What will it looks like? Right, so press the shortcut for the code, or you can press this one, source, and then choose insert code, and then choose the implement method. Okay, it will automatically select all the abstract methods that we have in our parent class in the DB model, and then press generate, and then it will automatically generate the basic implementation for all the abstract methods that we have over here. Okay, let me return it back to the previous state. Right, let's see here the insert data. Okay, so for insert data, we will use this method to insert the new vehicle data into our tables in the database. So the code will look like this one. So first, before we store any data into the database, we will check whether the connection itself is still in an open state or is it in the closed state. So as long as the connection is not closed, right, so we will do all these commands to insert the new data into the database. And don't forget in here, since in the DB model, I declare it to throws the both SQL exception and also the exception. So in the check class, in the vehicle class, in this case, I will also throws the both SQL exception and exceptions. And in here, I don't write any try catch block over here because all the exceptions will be thrown to the color of this insert data method later on. Right, so let's see here. So once the DB model connection is not closed, so I will to insert a new data into this vehicle table, and then the data that I will send is number plate, brand, vehicle class, and color. Right. So as for the ID, I don't input it here because the structure in my vehicle table for ID it is automatically incremented. So I don't need to know what is the latest ID to insert a new data because I have already made it as an auto increment. Okay, and then for the values here, I use the prepare statement, the prepare query. So I use the question mark here to represent how many parameters that will be sent to our query. And then we create an object from the java.sql prepare statement class. Okay, remember in here, all the class that we use, all the library related with the database, we'll use the one from java.sql library, not the other library. So please be careful. Okay, let's get back to this insert data. And then in this prepare statement, I create a new statement object. And then DB model connection, choose the prepare statement method and insert the SQL that we have already created here. And then next we want to replace all the parameters in here from our SQL string into the appropriate value. For example, this one, this is located at the position 1, index 1, the first parameter that we want to change. So in here, statement set string at the locations of the first one, the first occurrence of the question mark. Okay, the first one should correspond with the first column that we have set in here inside our insert into query number plate. Okay, and then the next one, question mark number 2, must correspond with the brand, get brand. And then the third one must correspond with vehicle class. So please take note here because it for vehicle class here, it is of the integer data type. So therefore in here we will use set integer, set int, not set string again, set integer at the location of question mark 3, the third question mark, and then get the value of vehicle class. And then the fourth one here, set string, okay, color, this dot get color. Once we pass all the parameters that we want to be executed with our SQL command, so we will execute this command stmt.execute update. And then once we finish everything, all the operations, once the query is successfully executed, don't forget to close the prepare statement object using the close operation over here. So this is how the insert data works, the code for this insert data. Next, we will see how to do the update and delete. So pretty much, basically for the update and delete, it's pretty much the same. The structure is pretty much the same with this insert data operation. So we'll just go through it very quickly. Let's see for the update. Again, the structure is similar. We first want to check whether the connection is still open or not. So if the connection, as long as it's open or not closed, okay, we prepare our query. We prepare our SQL, right? Update vehicle set, okay, how many parameters that we want to change the value. So in this case, I'll just change all the value. In this case, I'll just change all the values such as number plate, brand, vehicle class, and color. So this is an example. Later on, you can modify this update data according to your needs. Then number plate, brand, vehicle class, and color. Don't forget, we need to specify which data that we want to update. We don't want to update all of our data in the database to have the same record. So don't forget about this where criteria, about this where clause. And then again, following the similar logic with the insert method, we create the prepare statement. And then we transform, we pass all the required parameters into the SQL. Okay, the first one, number plate. The second one is brand. The third one is vehicle class using the integer. The fourth one, color, string. And then the last one, fifth. This is the difference with insert. For insert, we don't have any where clause, and then we only have 4 parameters over here. But for the update, since we must know which data that we want to update, then we must specify what is the ID, the primary key for the data that we want to update. So set this one ID, 5 this get ID. And then after we finish passing through all the parameters for the SQL, we want to execute the update. And then don't forget to close the prepare statement. Okay, so this is the structure for update data. And then next we want to see for the delete data method. Again, it has the same logic over here. So as long as the TP model connection is open, then we want to prepare the SQL here, delete from vehicle. Don't forget the where clause over here. Why? If you don't put the where clause over here, all the data inside the vehicle table will be deleted once you execute this command. So we want to specify if we want to delete a specific data or record in a database, then we must specify which one through the primary key. In this case, since ID is the primary key of this vehicle table, so we want to delete the data which has this specific ID. Since in this delete we only have one parameter, so we only need to change one parameter. We only need to pass one parameter, in this case the ID parameters, and then execute the update, and then don't forget to close the prepare statement. So this is all the code for the insert, update, and also delete. They have basically have the same structure. And then next we will see for the SQL select. So for the SQL select, it's a little bit different because we want to read through all the data that we have in the database. Okay, and this data will be stored inside a result set class. So here, let's go through this list all data. Okay, this is the method that will implement the select query. So in this, again, we want to prepare the collection object, the one that will store the result from the SQL select. And then in here, we want to check as long as the database connection is open, we can execute the query. Okay. The SQL here is, since we want to select all data, then I just use this query command, select star, select all data from vehicle. And then in this case, since I don't have any parameters that I want to pass in the SQL, so I can just use the normal SQL statement instead of the prepare statement. So in this case, I use this third statement. This statement is the object of Java SQL statement from this TP model class. This attribute that we have, the protected statement. And then we want to create the statement from our TP model connection. And then later on, we want to set the statement. We need to explicitly mention where we want to store the result set from the select query execution. Okay, so we will use the object result set here, the variable result set that also come from the data member of this TP model class result set. Okay, this the result set equal to this statement dot execute query. So mind that we will use execute query method to execute our SQL instead of execute update as shown in the insert, update, and delete operation previously. So if you want to know what is the difference, you can take a look at the documentation at the help section of the Java, and then you will see why we want to use the execute query instead of execute update for selecting the data. Okay, execute query and pass the SQL that we have prepared previously. And then next, we want to go through all the output from this query. So we will call this one. We will iterate through the outputs that we get. So while this result set dot next, it means while it has another data to be read from the database. So we will get all the data sets as the vehicle ID, the number plate, brand, vehicle class, and also the color. So in this case, we create a new vehicle object, a new temporary vehicle object over here, and then use uh, the constructor with all the parameters to set a new temporary vehicle object over here and fill in with all the data that we have read from the database, the ID, the number plate, brand, vehicle class, and color for each vehicle data, and then add the newly created vehicle object, the temporary this one, into our collection array list. This one, using the add method. So collection add method, TMP. So we will store all the newly created vehicle object into this collection array list of object. And then after we finish to read all the data, don't forget to close the result set and also to close the Java SQL statement object. And then finally, don't forget to return the array list of object called collection here. Because in this list all data, we will return array list of object. Okay, let's see how this model is used in the real implementation. So we get back to this EzParking sample. If previously you have created a main class, okay, we will open this main class and then we will fill in some of the code inside this main class. Okay, so we will use this command prompt based examples to see how our code actually works. Let's go to main class and then we want to test the code by creating a new vehicle object called car, and then I create a new vehicle, type in, for example, the number plate and all the data such as the brand, the vehicle class, and then the color. Let's try in here P5566 TW, for example, this one, and then this let's say the brand is AUDD, and then the color is space gray. And then in here we want to try to insert the data, the newly created car data, into the database. Okay, so we call upon the insert data method. So we type in the object of our vehicle class car dot in here we can see all the method that we have created here: delete data, brand, class, color, number plate, vehicle class, insert data, and then update data, and also we can also list all data here. But in this case we want to insert a new data, so we use insert data over here. Once you use this insert data, once you put this insert data, you will you will receive an error, because remember previously in this vehicle we only throw the exception for the SQL exception and also the exception. We have not yet catch the exception. So that's why in this main class, in our implementations of the object, we must catch the exception. So add the try catch block over here, try and catch exception. Okay, so it will catch all the exceptions, including the SQL exception. So if you want to specifically catch or if you want to specifically display specific message for the SQL exceptions, you want to add another catch block over here just for the SQL exception, such as catch SQL exception SX, let's say this one. Okay, and then don't forget to import the library for the SQL exceptions by pressing enter, and then add import Java SQL exception. And then let's say you want to use system.out.println sx.get message, this one. So we will behave our program will behave differently to process if we catch the SQL exception with the normal exception here. So if we get the SQL exception, we want to just print out the get message over here. But if we get the other normal exception, so the error message will be printed in an object of a local class. Okay, so otherwise, if you don't want to specify each of the exceptions that you will catch, you can just use one form of the exception over here. Just catch one exception and that's it. Okay, so in this implementation, actually, I also give you an example if we want to update the data and also read all the data in the database. Okay, so let's see here. So if we want to read the data from the database, we can add the following code. For each, this is the format of for each. So we want to read all the vehicle data from the database. Remember that in our list all vehicle data over here, we will return the array list of object. So that's why in here we want to read through all the array list of object. Okay, so for each OPG here as an object from the list all data here from our array list. Okay, so we want to check if this object is actually an instance of our vehicle class. If it's an instance of our vehicle class, then we will typecast, we will convert this object from the object class to the vehicle class. Next, let's say this is an example, we just want to print out all the data. Okay, so system print out, let's say I want to print the car data number 1, and then what is the ID, number plate, brand, vehicle class, and then the color for that vehicle. And then yeah, this is just for select. If we want to, let's say, try to update data, we can use this following code. Okay, so if this number plate, let's say earlier, because if we want to update some data, then we must to specify the ID of the data, right? So in this case, we want to find if get number plate equals to this one, right? So in this case, we must know what will be the ID for this data. Alright, so if number plate equals to this one, then set brand this one, set brand as a Hino, and then set vehicle class for a new class, and then set the color khaki, update the data. Okay, let's take a look at our data. First, earlier we have this U2345FF, this one U2345FF Hino to khaki. Okay, let's try to change the data. This one, haha. We want to change from Hino to khaki to haha, and then set vehicle class earlier true. Let's change it to 1, and then the color from khaki we want to change it, let's say red. And then again print out the updated data over here. Okay, so in this commands we will do several operations. We will do 3 operations to be exact. The first one is we want to insert new data. In this case, we want to insert this B55660W car, okay, into our vehicle table. And then next, we want to read all the vehicle data in our vehicle table. And then while we read the data, if let's say we find a vehicle with a number plate U2345FF, we will do the update. We will update the data. Okay, let's run this project. So right click on the file, EzParking sample, the Java, run the file, and then you will see over here. Let's see the first operations, insert data. We don't display anything for the insert, but let's take a look at our database. Okay, select all from vehicle. I refresh the database. Earlier we have 4 data, 1, 3, 4, 5, and now we have 5 data. 1, 3, 4, 5, and 7. Alright, B55660W. Okay, it's similar with our new vehicle data over here. AUDD, vehicle class 1, space gray. Okay, so this is created at, modified at. And then next, our code will list all the data from the database. And then we can see here, we actually have 5 data. And then we see on the next pins on the output over here, we have 5 data actually. Car number 1, 2, car number 3, 4, and 5. Okay, But in here, we can see that for card data number 2, it is displayed twice. Why? Because in the middle of our displaying all the data from the database, we actually do the update process for the vehicle that has the number plate of U2345FF. So in here, you can see car data number 2, ID3, okay, number plate U2345FF. We change the data from the brand Hino to become Haha, vehicle class from 2 to become 1, and then the color from khaki to red. And then if we take a look at the database itself, again, for this U2345FF, Haha, and then this is the new data for the vehicle. Alright, so this is how we implement Java application with database. Okay, so this main class is just a testing class to make sure that the class that we have created and all the operations works normally. Next, we want to input these operations into our GUI because nowadays all the applications will have an interactive user interface. So create a new Java file in here inside our EzParking samples, the main package, and then choose JFrame form. We want to create a new user applications project for a new new Java applications with user interface Java class. Over here, give the appropriate name. For example, in here I already have one, EzParking UI. I will open it for you, and then this will be the designs of the user interface that we have. EzParking, we have the ID, and then this is the text field. It's not editable, and also it's not enabled, this one, and then the number plate, the brand, vehicle class, color, and then we will have 3 buttons: refresh, submit, delete, and also this one. This is an JTable object from the swing controls table, this one. Okay, in the swing control for table, this one, we can modify the name, the header for the column by checking on the properties windows over here and take a look at the properties called model. And then take a look here, table model. We want to press on the button with the 3 dots over here, and then we want to change the title correspondingly with the columns that we have in our table. So ID, number plate, brand, vehicle class, and also color. And then we will specify the appropriate data type along with the type that we have from the database, and then make sure that all of these columns are non-editable. We can turn off this editable checkpoint, and then don't forget, after you finish, we just click OK, and then we will add several operations, several actions, several events for each of our button over here. So first of all, we want to add the operations in case if the form is loaded. So we can select our form and choose events, and then we can choose the events window open, and then click on this one on the combo box, the drop down this one, and then it will show from window open, and then double click on it. In here I have button refresh action perform, and then let's see what actually it does in this one. Button refresh action perform. So for each of the button, actually we must put the appropriate event over here. Refresh, we have this one, the refresh. For the submit, we also have the event for the submit, and also we will have another event for the delete. So for the refresh, we want to clear all the inputs over here, and also we will reload all the data from the database and display it again in onto our JTable over here. For submit, we will do either inserting a new data into database, or we will update the existing data from the database. And then delete, as the name implies, we will delete a specific record from the database. Okay, let's take a look at the refresh first, because earlier in the form load, we will call upon this refresh button. Okay, so let's see. For refresh button, actually, I call upon 2 methods, clean input and load all data. So this method actually a method that I created on my own, so you can also create on your own for this one. So what this method do is just clean all the input that we have, clean all the text field in here. For this method clean input, actually what it does is only just clean all the text for each text field. And then for load all data method, it's just to read all the data in the database and then display it on the table. Remember earlier in the example of the EzParking main class earlier that we have, we already actually able to read all the data here. So what we want to do here is that we want to move the way how we call the data here from our test class, this one, from the object, this one, object read from the list of all data into our UI, okay, and put it inside this load all data. Okay, let's see here to load all data. Since we want to display all the result inside the JTable, then we must create a new default table model as a helper so that we can get the model, the structure for this JTable that we have. Okay, in JTable we have ID, number, plate, brand, vehicle class, and color. Okay, so we will copy this one and put it into an object of default table model, and then we want to create an object of our raw data that will be shown in this model, and then we will call upon model set row count. So we want to clear the JTable, so each time the refresh button is pressed, okay, so the value, the data displayed in this table should be refreshed. So in this case, we will clear the previous data and then display the new data from the database. Display with all the data read from the database. Okay. Right, so let's see here. Set the row count to become 0, and then we create a new temporary vehicle object, this one, just to call the list all data. Okay, so previously when we read the data, we call upon this for each loop. Okay, so we'll type the same for object, this one. You can see the structure is similar object, and then calling the method list all data that will resulting the array list object, and then put it inside the try catch, this one, try catch exception, and then again we do the checking if the object is an instance of this vehicle class. Okay, similarly, if object is instance of vehicle, then we will create a new temporary vehicle class, this one, and then we will convert this object of this object class, OPG of the object of this object class, to become a new object raw data here. Okay, so the number of the size for this array of object raw data is similar with the size or the number of columns that we have for our table vehicle. Since in here we have 5 columns: ID, number, plate, brand, vehicle, color. Okay, so obviously the size for this raw data is also 5. So starting from the index 0, we set it according to its appropriate columns. So row data 0, it represents ID, row data number 1, index 1 for number plate, index 2 for brand, index 3 is for vehicle class, and then index 4 is for the color. And then afterward, we will add this raw data into the model that we have prepared over here. Model add row, put the array of object, this one, the raw data. Yes, this is only the method to load the data. Okay, so if you want to check, we can just we want to make sure that we have set the project properties, the default UI to this EzParking UI. Right click on the project and then choose properties, and then we will choose the run over here, the run categories, and then we want to set the main class here, browse, and then choose it as a EzParking UI. Select as main class. Okay, so when we run the project, it will open up this UI, the EzParking UI Java. So we can see earlier on the form open, in my form open action, in the form open, I call upon the button refresh action. So it performs the similar method as when this refresh button is pressed. Okay, so all the input fields are clear, and then it will load the data from the database, put it into the table. Right, let's see the other functionalities for delete and submit. Okay, for delete first. Okay. Okay, let's see for the other functionalities for the method submit. that we have here after refresh. Okay, earlier I mentioned that in submit button, we will do two operations at once. Okay, it can be either input a new data into the database or update a specific data. So how we can choose what this button submit will do? It will depend on whether the data that we have here already has the ID or not. Whether whether the vehicle that we create here, the information that we put here already has an ID or not. Remember that earlier in the design, we set this ID as a non-editable field, and we disable it. So user normally would not be able to set any value inside it when the program is executed. You can see I cannot put any ID overall. I can only fill in the number plate, brand, vehicle class, and color. Right? So in this case, it's easy for us to determine what will this button submit will do. So we can just check whether this text ID, the value of this text ID is empty or not. If it's empty, then we will do the insert new data into the vehicle table. But if the ID has some value, then what we want to do here, we want to update the data. Update the specific data. Okay, let's take a look at the insert first. It's similar with our previous test class here. For inserting new data, we can just call the method insert data. But previously, we must create a new car data over here. So the same logic here, okay, in our UI. Okay, so after the user fill in all the informations, all the required informations, the number plate, brand, vehicle class, and color, what we want to do here, we want to call the method insert data. Okay, so vehicle, create a new object of vehicle class, and then get all the data, get text from number plate, brand, vehicle class, color, and then call the insert data method, and then the new data will be inserted into the database. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, insert new data. Earlier we have 5 data, 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. Let's say I have C1334 TP. Let's say the brand distributed programming. This one, the brand is distributed programming, or let's abbreviate it into this prog. The vehicle class is, let's say, 5, and then the color is navy. Okay, take note here, I cannot fill in any ID. So when I submit, I press this submit button, what it will do, I would like this new data will be inserted into a new data into our database over here. Okay, you see we have a new data C133TP this prog 5 navy. We can take a look in our database, refresh it, we'll have the same data C1334TP this prog 5 navy. Okay, let's take a look next. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that this submit button will have two operations, right? The insert new data and also update existing data. So let's see how we can update existing data. Okay, so obviously, how can we fill in this ID? So the ID should be filled when we choose any data from our JTable over here. So let's take a look how we can do so in our code. Okay, open up the NetBeans. Okay, we want to open up the designs, and then we want to select on our JTable first, and then go to the events window over here, and then choose the events most click, and then add a new event from this dropdown, the table most click event. Okay, in this event we want to obtain the data. So you can add the following code. Selected row, we will get the selected row from this most click event. Okay, so we'll get from this JTable, we want to get the number, the index of the selected rows. As long as the index of the selected rows that we get here is greater than -1. So all the data inside this JTable will start from index 0. Okay, so all the data displayed in this JTable will start from index 0. So as long as the selected rows index is greater than -1, so we will set the text for IT to become the text, this one, of the selected rows. So we can get the selected data from this code. The JTable, we will call upon the method getValueAdd, and then we will specify what is the row and then what is the columns. Okay, because we want to set ID at the selected data, so obviously the selected data means we can obtain it from the selected row. Next, we want to know what is the column for the data. So take a look over here in the model of our JTable. We can see the sequence will be ID, number plate, brand, vehicle class, and color. We can see column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. So this is only the number of the column. In Java programming, so the number here will always start from 0, the index of the array. So this column is set on the structure of array. So here for IT, we don't want to put in 1, but it should start from 0. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's why in here, table ID set text, get value at selected row at the index of 0. And then number plate, set text, table vehicle, get value as selected row, number 1. Brand, vehicle, get value at selected rows at the index 2. Vehicle class at the index of 3, color at the index of 4. Okay, so once we add this type of vehicle mouse click, so if we run our code, we can get, once we select any data from the table, you can see that the value will change according to our selection in the JTable over here. Okay, so let's see what will happen in the update. Okay, so let's continue back to this submit button. So if we press submit, but we already have the ID and also all the data for the other fields such as number plate, brand, color, and vehicle class. So what our code will do is that it will call upon the try this one. So if the vehicle ID is not empty, then we want to update the selected vehicle data. So the same process, we want to create a new vehicle object over here called temporary, and then we fill in all the information such as the ID, the number plate, the brand, the vehicle class, and also the color for the new vehicle, for the existing vehicle data that we have, and then we will call update data over here. So we get the value from this text, okay, for this specific vehicle ID, and then we do the update data. And then once it's finished, don't forget to refresh, to call upon this button refresh action to refresh all the data. We want to clear the input data, and also we want to refresh the JTable so that we can see what is the modification that has been made. Okay, let's take a look over here. Okay, let's see, I want to change the data number 4, this one. U3456FF. Okay, the brand is Toyota, vehicle class 1, silver metallics. Let's change, okay, let's set the vehicle name number, let's change this one, F with U, this one, F3456FU. Okay, the brand, let's reverse it to ATOYOTT. Vehicle class 2. Okay, the color green, and then we press the submit button. We can see directly after we press submit, we will perform update, and then after that, all the inputs here are cleared, and then the data is reloaded. And then we can see earlier vehicle with ID 4 from U3456FF, Toyota 1, silver metallic is changed to F3456FU Toyota 2 green. So this is for update. Okay, last one is delete. So basically for the delete, the implementation of delete is similar like how we implement the insert and update. So basically, let's just directly take a look at the code. So as long as the text ID, this one, the text inside is not empty. Okay, as long as the text is not empty, we want to read, sorry, we want to read the data of that vehicle, and then we want to call the delete data. All right. So for the delete, we must make sure that we already select data from the database that we want to delete, and then we want to set the data and then call upon the delete data. Okay, let's try it. Let's say, okay, let's say I want to delete this data number 4. F3456 FU at Toyota. Okay, we select it first from our table and then we click on delete. Okay, the data is deleted. The input is clear. Okay, and then the data is clear. So if press refresh, the data is not there. We can also check on our database. Okay, the data for vehicle number 4 with ID 4 has been removed from our database. Okay, so this is how we can connect our Java program with database. So next, what you want to do here is probably you would like to add register and login functionality for this application, and then you can try to create a new user table over here with the following structure. This is an example user table that has username and also password. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is the structure for user table, username, password, and then probably you want to store the name, email, maybe some other informations. Okay, and then you might want to create a new UI called login, and then the information for username and password inputted by the user in this form will be checked with the information that we have from the database. Then you can create it on your own as an exercise. Right, so this is how we can connect our Java application with MySQL database. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please let us know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and until next time.